It's about time to get on with that Discovery. That one that you bought back in June. To get on the road. By the end of June. As a works vehicle. And here we are, 1st of November. And before we get into the insanity of my car purchasing choices, can you check your subscribe, please? Even if you think you are, just double check. Do me a favour, please. If you're not subscribed, why ever not? If you fancy contacting me, then it's churchhouseclassics, and that's all one word, @gmail.com. There's only one of me. I will get back to you, maybe not by return, so please be patient. And if you fancy supporting the channel or buy me a pint, there's a PayPal me link thing scrolling on the bottom here. Enjoy it. Well, it's a lovely day. It's a Sunday, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to weld a bit of this up. Let's see if we can't get this less holy. Right, okay, so here is the floor as it stands. It goes that way round. And I need really to replace this lip along here. I did think briefly about salvaging this lip, but there's way too much corrosion. Too close to the edges. It's pointless, utterly pointless. Okay, so that is definitely scrap. What I've then done, as you've seen already, made up these repair sections because it's actually quite a complex curve. I even thought about chopping up one of my gearbox covers. So I've got a nice gearbox cover over here, but I thought, well, why wreck that for the sake of just making up a few repair panels for the winter beater, for the new works vehicle. So I'm quite confident I'm going to do this. So what I'm going to basically do here is basically weld the sections in, but lap them such that the moisture is not going to get into the lap when I'm driving forwards. Obviously I'm going to go underneath it and paint the fuck out of it once it's all in. But for the time being, I just really want to get it such that I've got a support for the remainder of the floor to go in. So the idea is then, weld in this lip, cut out a nice big flat piece of steel, weld on a top hat section onto the bottom of it just to give it some rigidity. I don't need these ribs at all, they're pointless. I get the floor welded in. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? Then I can paint it. Then I can put the seat back in. Once I fix the diaphragm on the seat. Oh, in other interesting news, I went to the Land Rover monthly show last weekend in Newbury. And I picked up from a very, very, very nice trader, for the square root of fuck all, although I donated towards their coffee fund, a back seat, which is way nicer than the back seat I've got in the car already, because the back seat I've got in the car already, if you remember, has been absolutely shredded. The other thing I picked up, and it was cheap, but it's straight, is a 200 series front bumper. Now, the only real difference that I can see between 200 series and 300 series is the mount cans, but these will still mount onto the nose of the chassis. They just don't have the crush cans, as I'm led to believe. Now, if it don't fit, I'll lob it back onto eBay and I'll sell it, because it's a nice straight bumper. But it came with the end caps, which I'll probably be able to use on this anyway. I believe they're exactly the same. It came with the washers. I know they're slightly different, but it came with the washers. And it came with everything, really. So we'll probably end up with a half-decent front bumper on it as well. Now, I'm probably going to end up keeping that hulking great piece of checker plate down there. Might aid deflection underneath the car, I don't know. But anyway, it's not what we're doing today. What we're doing today is welding. As you can see, I lobbed the panel back on, only with one screw, just to make the thing look a little bit tidier in my yard. Trying to improve the overall look and feel of this yard. It's not helping, is it? But I want to get this on the road. I need it. I want it. Winter's on its way. I might need some new window seals to the back here. This thing has been filling up with water, by the way, and I suspect it's going to be down to these seals. You can see up here the condensation is rife in there. So as part of kind of the overall rejuvenation of this thing, I'll be going around doing stuff like that and peeling off all of this horrible stick-on-wood effect shite. I know, it's just, it happens, doesn't it? Right, so I don't need to film it because it's just loads and loads and loads of editing for me, but there you go, there's the first piece, clamped into place, fire blanket wedged up behind, cleaned off the worst of the underseal on the existing panel, so I can tack that into place and then seam it into place. The idea, I think, is probably going to be to tack all of the pieces into place and then seam it one end to the other. Because I think when it comes to this sort of thing, where originally there was a joint, are we going to work? Yeah. Where originally there was a joint, come sit down here. Oh yes. Where originally there was a joint, I'm quite happy with tacking it. But where there wasn't a joint, i.e. this would have been a single panel, then it needs to be seam welded. Yes. And then headlining is going to need to happen, isn't it? It is absolutely horrific up there. Absolutely horrific. We'll come on to headlining once I've got the floor done. Right, that's piece number one in, not my most beautiful welding, but the flap disc will provide. And then piece number two is just roughly lined up. I need to bring this edge down a tiny bit. But then I should be able to weld that in. So once I get it roughly in place, I'll put a tack either side of where the clamp is and then move the clamp along and keep going. Like I say, wedge lots of fire blanket up behind. Welding gloves as well. These are very good at going in there and just rubbing away at any flames that do occur. Obviously just weld a tiny bit, put the fire out, weld a tiny bit, put the fire out, weld a tiny bit, put the fire out, etc, etc. And it's all down to the undersealant, the underbody sealant that sits underneath these things. And there's a bit down there. This stuff burns beautifully. So this black tarry stuff, you just have to look at it funny and it catches fire. So it's just a case of softly, slowly, in order to get this thing done. But the first chunk is in. It's quite, you know, a lot of sculpting goes on around this, and we're not. I'll repeat the statement: we're not talking about a concourse restoration here. We're talking about a works vehicle that can hold its own, so to speak. Once I got this lip in, then I can make up the floor, then I can tidy up all of this crap up here. Most of this is actually, in fact, there's a bloody great big lump of undersealant there, which is literally just, that's all it is. The floor is undersealant. The other stuff that likes to burn is this sound deadening here, this old anti-drum panel. Loves it. Absolutely loves to burn, so that'll all come off. Because I've got to change the brakes anyway, we're jumping ahead of ourselves in a little bit, but I'm just waiting for things to cool down. Because the master's leaking, and I'm going to change the master, it actually makes a lot of sense just to get the pedal box out for the repair at the top end here. Obviously the wing will need to come off and everything, but it then gives me an opportunity to shield the loom. I don't particularly want to take the loom out. We're not talking a massive restoration here. We're talking about getting it looking half decent, as I keep saying. Right, what time are we? We are, ooh, lunch o'clock. Let's get this piece welded in, and I might take a break for a spot of lunch. Yes, I think. And chunk number two is welded in and cooling down. Now, then we get on to the next bit, is the complex curves. So I've got piece number 4, piece number 3. Looks like piece number 3 wants to go in a bit like that. We'll see. We'll see. It's actually not that far out, is it? I'm just going to trim back a little bit so there's not a massive overlap. But once that's held in place, That's warm still. Once that's held in place, I should be able to weld that chap in. Then I can get this floor in. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice. And I realise I haven't done this bit back here yet either. That needs beating back down again. I need to make up the closing section on the floor here, which will be relatively straightforward compared to this shite anyway. Yes, I think. And these bits, these curves, all I did with that is I had an old steering rod and I beat the metal over the I beat it over the rod. Gave me a nice sort of curve there, which is sort of going to fit. And then it can be trimmed up. Yeah. It's all sort of heading in the right direction, isn't it, really? And I'm pleased with this welding up here. Bit more space to operate. I mean, I suppose I could have taken the steering wheel off, couldn't I? It got in there then, but never mind. Every day when you're welding is a learning day. Oh look, all the contrails have joined up. Never mind. Right. That has welded that chunk in now. That's all done and dusted. It will do the job. It gives me a platform onto which I can put the floor now. Because one of the biggest challenges here is getting your hand up behind it to put the flames out. Yes. Right, now, I think what I need to do next is find myself a shape and cut it out. There's nothing I'm going to salvage off this thing. If anything, I might salvage just the two ribs, but is it actually fucking worth it? By the time I've welded that onto another bit of steel, do I not just put another piece of steel in? And I think the answer is, you just put another piece of steel in, Richard. Got a nice big lump in here. Also, that will probably do it. Offcuts. Nice big offcuts. That might do it. And then I've got some top hat sections in here somewhere. So these were folded out as part of a project somewhere. There's the top hat section. Look at that. So then we use chunks of that underneath to give it some strength. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? Oh, it's Birdie chirruping. Birdie chirruping saying, where the fuck's the blue clouds gone? No, sorry, blue clouds have been contrailed out. Right, might even get away with the thinner bit there than using that hulking grade bit, but this is going to be really useful. So let me make up some templates and see where we need to go to. Right, so this is the rough, sketched out lump of flooring with two nice big top hat ribs welded on the other side to make that nice and strong. I've welded them towards the back end, towards the seat end, because that area is actually relatively flat. And then I've left this front section so that I can adjust that to fit into the footwell. It's all a bit on the warm side at the moment. I'm going to let it all cool down and then I'm going to fit it in, I think. Now, this diagonal line here is kind of the factory original line where the gearbox cover would have gone, and then the closing piece. There's no point cutting that off. So I'm going to weld it straight up. Sorry folks, it's not going to be a factory line. So effectively, we're going to run from here straight up to there. Straight line, and then I just need to fill this piece in here. What I then did was, this piece here, I couldn't close the kind of the rib, so I chopped the rib out and rotated it and welded it onto the end of that rib there. So now I've got a nice closed piece. So when I put the other piece of steel underneath here, it's going to fit quite neatly, I think. So that floor section, I really want it underneath this piece, underneath that piece that's warm still, on top of this piece. It might be on top of that piece. I'll see how the best way it's going to fit. It definitely goes on top of this, so that water's not going to get driven into the seam. It could actually sit on top of that, really. I could spray that and put it on top. We'll see. I'm not quite sure how yet I want to do it, but we're going to find out really quickly once that's cooled down. Okay, more or less ready to weld this bastard in now. Got it all nicely shaped and sculpted. Got it to pretty much where I need it to be. Tiny little infill down here where the old rib was. Fire blanket is installed underneath to protect the fuel lines. Let's do it. Fuck it. It's always the way, isn't it? Oh. Double fuck. Triple fuck. Duck farts. Ah, we're out of welding wire, chap. Oh. Well, that's a pain. I've used my emergency kind of backup tiny reel already. It's a burn hole in my hat. Well, there's not really a busting I can do about that. We're out of welding wire. You silly arse. Never mind. I'm going to get the floor welded in my Discovery today, and we are currently 3:30. The welder's out. You know what that means. We're working on the car. So I'm having an afternoon off from everything else because I want this done. I'm fed up with looking at it. So what I've done is, this back edge here is still rather warm, welded in a nice flat piece of steel that runs along the top of this inner wing section here and onto the arch. And then I've made up this, which I was able to kind of fold out this piece with the relief and then welded in a little piece at the bottom. And that sits there like that. So I'm just going to clean back this sound deadening. It will need just a little bit of blowtorch and a scraper. It will soon come off. And then I can weld this bastard in, which will be moving forwards in leaps and bounds. I need to tidy up down here. So I almost need like a little L section step down there. It's not a huge issue. And of course, I haven't put the bottom back on the B post yet. So that needs doing. But we're starting to look more watertight, closer to being watertight than we have been in the past. I'm trying not to get too much of the original material underneath. So cleaning up, you can see on this edge up here, there's a scubby bit up there. So I'm just going to really just take that out, because once this piece goes in, it's going up to the clean and tidy metal. In fact, we just need to just trim a tiny bit off the top edge here so that that sits a bit better up there. But it is, we are more or less kind of where I want to be on this. Belt sander. You can see how I've actually marked it out, but I think I just need to take a tiny little curve out inside this black section here, so that will sit there then like that. Right, let's get on with taking off this sound deadening. I don't need to take too much off, probably just a chunk like that, because it's just anti-drum stuff. But we've got a 300 TDI automatic Discovery. I can't imagine it's going to be particularly refined, but we'll give it a go. And then down here you can see on the bottom of the B pillar I can put a slug. That's cooled down there now. I can put a slug just on this joint here just to hold that together. I think then we pray to the patron saint of Sill. That piece there, once all of this is in, I'm going to cut off the base here and then just weld a triangle in over the top. Just stone guard the fuck out of it underneath. And we'll be heading in the right direction, I reckon. Right, that's all welded in nicely. Happy enough with that. Good and solid. Make up that little piece there. And then I'm going to start working on the bottom of the B pillar. I need to be out of here. Well, I need to be on Firewatch, really, because I need to be out of here at about 1:30. So we more or less need, we've got about another 20 minutes, I think, of welding. Then I'm going to need to pack up. So, should really get that piece done there. that piece done there. Inside of the A post I'm going to get done, and the bottom edge of the bulkhead panel, which as you can see is missing. And then, yeah, I might need to just chip away up here. I've not really done an awful lot of work with the A post. It's really been a case of starting from the back and working my way forwards. And as you can see, we're having eked away the entire summer period when it was nice and dry, sorry, wet and cold. We're now end of October. I wanted to see on the road end of October. It's not happened. So I'm looking at this B post here, and I'm going to make it up out of 3 sections. So first chunk will be this piece here, which I've just chopped out, and that will sit more or less there, so I can get in at the top edge with the spot welder, sorry, with the welder, and down the trailing edge here. You see that? Where I got my finger, and then I can make up the leading edge, and then I can put in a piece in between, an infill in between, with a nice little hole drilled through the bottom of it, and that will work, I think. It's got tons of structural rigidity already, but I want to get this chunk done. Then I'm going to work on the A post, which I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I've not forgotten yet that I haven't done in there. I know I need to do that, but let's get this cabin so that I can paint the floor, seam seal it, and put the seat back in. I've even ordered the new diaphragm for the seat, so I can put the seat back in and not be sitting on the floor. And I've been peeling more of this shit off. Knob. Right, welding this in. I'll do that nicely. Right, now, next piece, because I'm getting on with this now, is this inner A post. Can we see it? I don't know if we can see it. Down here. So, I want to weld on the new lower part of the A post to the top of the sill. Got it more or less in place. This flap here ultimately will need to bend upwards and up against this piece here, and then I'll fill in the weld in the middle. The problem I've got here is that the A post has very, very, very slightly, oh God help us, decent pair of pliers would be nice, bent inwards here. Right, that's bending that outwards, 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 and outwards. Now, when I crash that on there now, oh, that sort of fits now. And then all I've already done, this lip here, which is the natural edge of the original A post, Range Rover Classic 2-door days, which is now butted up against the bulkhead side panel. Well, that's not a problem anymore. Now we just need to trim just a tiny bit more off the top edge of this, which I have got my shears here. I thought I had my shears here. Have I got my shears here? No, I haven't. I'm going to go and do it on the bench. If I've got to go back to the bench, you can come with me. Oh, there's the shears. Bastards. Right. And then you can start there. And none of it's an exact science. I'm just trimming off a little bit along the top. So I don't want to create too much of a lap at the top edge. But that should do that. Now let's go and weld that in. Oh! Yes, I think. So what I'm going to do now is just scrap it on this edge here, clean up the top edge of the sill where I'm welding up to. I'm going to still need to make up the semicircle that goes down here, but I can do that in a moment once this is in. Tack in the middle and then tap it into place. Bloody great big lump of underseal there. And then, somewhat helpfully, I found in my crap pile the bit off the bottom edge of the bulkhead that I chopped off. I'm not going to weld that back into place, folks, so don't panic, but it does give me an opportunity to make up a template roughly that sort of size. Yeah. And then this lot really needs something doing with it, because you can see the rust is creeping in. And that's in. Bit of contamination down here. I got into the zinc coating, or the whatever it is coating on the sill, but it's in place and it's held there solid. Nothing a flap disc won't fix. Now I need to go and see how this is going to fit on the outside. Bit of smoke under there, but nothing serious. So that's going to fit there, but it obviously wants to be longer because I want it to go up to here. So that's the piece that I've just welded in. Really want this to be about a centimetre longer, so it goes up against that, and then bash it in so it goes in flush on that piece there. I'm not touching it because it'll be red hot falling into that trap before I tell you. Right, I can go and mark that out. I think shouldn't be too difficult. Right, so if I was to chop this, let's say I do an overlap like that, and then I wanted a bit more space there, and I want a lip on the bottom edge of it. We're not that far away from it, so let's chop that straight across there. Throatless shears, not beefy enough for this. We need to go. Sorry, the hand shears are not beefy enough for this. We need to go to the throatless shear, which is here. Deep throat shear. You'd be more of a gibbon if you tried. Right. And I end up with something a bit like that. So now what I need to do is back over here, and really if we work along the bottom edge, then I can trim the top edge to shape. So realistically what I need to do here is mark around here, because that's kinda what I want to then bend back. We'll start just with a bit of gentle bending in the vise. Make sure we bend it the right way. That's approximately right, and do that bit, and then do this upright bit. And then we need to find my little panel beating hammer, which I had in my hand. Here it is. Remove the midget manifold out of the way. Bring my shoe anvil in. Correct hammer up. Getting there, isn't it? Right, now bend that piece a bit further now, because it wants to really be at a right angle. Right, now might have to edit some of the noise out, folks, because it's going to be noisy, isn't it? We'll line that back up with that, more or less, give or take a few mil, exactly where I want it to go. I've got 2 holes on here, so we'll mark those out as well. That drill might be a bit on the blunt side. Right, we're not that far out now, I think. I think we're going to see now where we need to adjust to. Drilly can go over there. Drilly box can go over there. I do tidy up, see folks? And you can come with me. Ooh, big bright thing in the sky that's hurting my eyes. Got the old bits. Only because I want to mark a rough line for where the old bit went to. Oops, that was totally unsuccessful, Richard. Like that. So now, if I then kind of put that there, because ideally I want this to go at the inside anyway. So I want this to go up and in here. So I need to chop the end off. I could, well, actually I could seam weld it around the outside. It'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? So, probably need then, because that's roughly where it needs to go to. That bit wants to come out, so I'm going to take that bit out. That flap then, I should be able to get that to go in there. Cut. Let's go and chop those bits. In fact, if I bring the hand shears with me, it'd be easier, wouldn't it? So I wanted. That's where it helps if you put little cross marks, little kisses in the bit of steel that is the bit you don't want. Otherwise, you end up chopping the bit you do want at. And I want to cut a slot about here, and then that wants to go in there like that, and more or less like that. That'll do it. Right then, now I need to clean up that area so that I can clamp this fucker on and weld it in place. And there you go, like that. And I can weld the floor in then. Once I've got the front piece of the floor welded in, I can paint it, because I'm not likely to get much more welding done this week. I think Sunday's going to be the next day I'll weld, so if I paint the floor, that's then done, and the next big job I need to do, big job I need to do is going to be to sort the driver's seat out. Still blistering hot, but it's in. And tidied up some welds. Now all I need to do is use the reciprocating saw just to cut this line nice and straight, bend the floor in the right sort of direction, and then make up this panel for the front end of the floor. Then once the servo is out and the pedal box is out, I can deal with that bit up there. But the objective today, and the sun is low, is to get the floor painted. Yes. So the idea now, I think, really spend half decent days working on this, and pissing down with rain days working inside the workshop on customer stuff. I need this on the road. Needs to happen pronto.